Sharon asked me to say a few words today about our dear friend and longtime McGetty Club moderator, Bernadette Schwartz, who passed away just a few weeks ago. I met Bern in June of 2012 when I attended my very first McGetty meeting in New York City. I'd been corresponding with her since the previous September after I'd read the book Sweethearts. I contacted Sharon and she pointed me to Bern, her trusted deputy, who moderated the Yahoo group. We became fast friends. We arranged to meet for a drink before the meeting, and it was a very muggy June Sunday in the city. The Puerto Rican Day Parade and the Tony Awards were happening, and the Mets and Yankees were playing too, and the trains were packed. Bern was having trouble with her leg, but she walked the many blocks from the bus station wearing a knee brace in all that humidity, with the sidewalks crammed 10 deep. She was determined to meet with me, and she had that way with people. She just she just would reach out to you and would put herself out there, no matter what the cost was to her. Over the next few years, we were to share many more McGetty adventures on both coasts. Later that summer, Jeanette was featured during TCM's Summer Under the Stars, and Maria Escano hosted a pajama party weekend at her lovely home on Long Island. We had a blast, laughing and bonding, and we used to joke we were like teenagers with wrinkles instead of pimples. Fun became the hallmark of those gatherings over the next few years, and we played like children. Together, our merry band of McGetty friends, we laughed ourselves silly. Our playground spanned the teeming streets of New York, the comfort of Long Island, the rolling hills of Virginia, and the sparkling glamour of the West Coast, where we romped under the warm California sunshine. Now, Bern was the first one to admit she was not a good traveler. She hated flying, and the process of traveling caused her considerable anxiety, usually resulting in much physical discomfort that lasted for days after a trip. But she made the sacrifice for love of Jeanette and Nelson and of her friends. That took more real bravery than I think we knew. My first trip to LA was in 2013. Maria and I flew out together, and we met up with Bern, C, Sharon, Ann, and Patrice for an unforgettable week of Mac magic. Bern, C, and I stayed with Maria at her cousins Jean and Rose, who hosted us at their beautiful home in Cerritos. Now, I'm an early riser, but Bern was always the first one up and had the coffee made, and I'd join her out on the back deck for coffee and to chat. She'd already made friends with a German shepherd on the other side of the fence, and she'd identified all the flowers by their Latin names. When I was planning my daughter's wedding, she was the one I turned to for advice on the flowers. We were visiting Miss, a hilltop hideaway that Nelson leased, and I plucked a bit of a shrub with some pretty blooms as a keepsake. Bern informed me that was oleander and it was poisonous, and I was not to bring it in the van unless I was going to provide everybody with a hazmat suit. So I was duly warned. That was during the house tour portion of the trip, which was always an adventure. Maria was the captain of our ship, driving us all over greater Los Angeles as she expertly piloted an enormous van while sitting atop a pillow so she could see over the steering wheel. All the while, we'd be talking McGetty and laughing nonstop, and Sharon would recall a story or point out a place, and someone would say, "Hey, we should check that out." Next thing you know, Maria would be gamely pointing the van in the right direction, and off we'd be going on another escapade. It was during that trip that Maria drove us to Santa Barbara, where Jeanette and Nelson used to rendezvous. We had lunch on the patio at El Encanto, where they stayed. It was one of those warm, sunny days with no humidity that California is so famous for. And sitting high in the lushly landscaped hills, we looked down towards the dazzling blue of the Pacific as we ate our lunch and gabbed. Later, we walked the grounds with Bern naming all the flowers along the pathway. This is heaven, she would periodically sigh, like being in paradise. She often recalled that day, always saying it was heaven, not heavenly, but heaven. On the morning of her funeral, which I was not able to attend, I awakened with a very vivid dream. Bern was seated amidst a group of people at a meeting just like this. Everyone was very sad because we had learned she had passed away the day before. Even as I was thinking this in my dream, the others were unaware of her presence. But I could see her, clear as a bell, sitting at the head of the table with a serene look on her face, wearing the same green dress she wore that day at El Encanto. I knew she'd sent me a message that she had found the actual heaven. Kind, compassionate, sensitive, genuine, and ever patient, Bern had a real talent for friendship and for living. She was one of the few people I was allowed to tell when I first learned I was to become a grandmother, and she was so happy for me. She knew the joy that being a grandparent brought to her and was thrilled for Greg and I. I will always cherish the beautiful card she sent me congratulating me with the proverb inside that read, "All the flowers of tomorrow are in the seeds of today." That was so like Bern, kind, sensitive, and beautiful. I know she is in heaven today, enjoying all those flowers of tomorrow for eternity. And she'll send us a sign every now and then. So look for a butterfly where you don't expect one, or a white feather to appear out of nowhere, or the tinkling of wind chimes on a breezeless day, and know she is near.